Oh wow, well, we're still here. So welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings, to the We Are Change News Show. And in this video, we are going to be talking about everything you need to know about the Space Force, the propaganda surrounding it, and the real reason why it was created, as well as a very sinister secret of the U.S. military that Trump supporters definitely don't want you to know about, and it's being mainly kept secret away from you from the mainstream media. Now, before we start, just know that we are mainly supported by you and your donations on wearechange.org/donate, where you could also sign up in our email list, because I think it's very self-apparent that there is a bigger agenda to censor or kick us out of here. Well, you'll find out after watching this video. Now, moving forward, of course, everyone's attention today was on the Space Force, a sixth separate branch of the U.S. Armed Forces. That, of course, became a major trending topic today, not only with Donald Trump tweeting Space Force all the way, but also because his cohort and Vice President Mike Pence announced today that the U.S. Space Force would be active by 2020, saying that once space was peaceful and uncontested, but now it's crowded and adversarial. And speaking frankly here, this is a really dumbass idea. One, because the United States already has a Space Force, and it's mainly commanded by the Air Force. More specifically, the Air Force Space Command that already employs 20,000 government workers in that specific field. But this latest move, of course, will only increase the bureaucracy of the U.S. government and also more war spending, since it seems that the American people and the government have pretty much written a blank check to Donald Trump saying, yeah, just spend what you want on this thing. And the numbers of exactly how much everything will cost is still unknown. But again, what will ultimately happen is more tax-paying money will be used for defense contractors, when already in the United States we spend more on, quote, defense. Really, we should just translate that into war spending. We spend more on war spending than the next 7 countries combined before us. Money that only exists because of extortion by government for people to pay their taxes, and also, that's not even enough to where the country now has to borrow more money and indebт itself. This is why the U.S. government is indebted to almost $21 trillion. The U.S. Pentagon spends $250 million on war every single day. And if you look at the statistics, 1 week of U.S. military spending could wipe out poverty and world hunger. Even if you're not a giving person, just imagine how much more wealth, how much more economic freedom people would have on this world if it wasn't for the military-industrial complex. And that's not even talking about the people who are being bombed over there, being able to keep their lives, which, you know, is a plus as well. And that's just one of many reasons why I believe this is just utterly dumb. But even for expressing this opinion, I face backlash and censorship, which I have been experiencing for many years now, because I think it's been very clear, especially if you've been watching this channel, that the tentacles of the military-industrial complex are wrapped up in not only the mainstream media, not only society, not only politics, but also social media. It is a 4-person NATO-funded team that advises Facebook on what they should be flagging as, quote, propaganda. They work with bloodthirsty globalist warhawks like the Atlantic Council, and this is just one of many connections and partnerships that large tech giants have with the military-industrial complex, and there's even more to mention, but their impact on society is more severe than you could ever imagine, especially with them scripting, rewriting, narrating, and calling the shots for a lot of mass media out there, not only with movies. And this is why I personally believe we have been under attack, and one of the key reasons why we have been getting soft censored on all these other platforms is because our main principle is anti-war. Now, a lot of people are falling for the basic propaganda lines from the U.S. government, including Donald Trump, saying that this is going to keep us safe. This is needed for our security, our peace, and prosperity. And that is absolutely all hogwash hooey. Look at the last time the U.S. military got involved. What was it? Syria? We fought alongside radical Islamic terrorists, ISIS, and Al-Qaeda. Let's take Libya, for example. That is now a failed despotic state where radical Islamic terrorists are now running the state to the point where now they even brought back human slavery. Barack Obama brought back slavery to Northern Africa. Yeah, that U.S. military intervention worked pretty well. Oh, let's look at Iraq. Oh, yeah. They're doing great with all the sectarian violence and breeding ground that ultimately fomented and created ISIS. Killed roughly about 1 million people there for absolutely no reason. Afghanistan, #1 exporter of heroin in the world after the U.S. intervened. Absolutely no reason we needed to be in there, and absolutely no reason why we're still there, and why Trump is still keeping troops there. But no. It's a great idea to expand the U.S. military for our safety and security. Bull-hooey! And now let's look at the current U.S. military intervention that the U.S. government is involved in right now. And that, of course, is the war in Yemen happening right now, where the United States is playing a very active role on and even has boots on the ground. And of course, their main talking point is that they're fighting Al-Qaeda in Yemen. And if you've been watching this YouTube channel here, I've been sitting here for a number of years telling you that it is absolute hooey that the United States is fighting Al-Qaeda in Yemen, but they're actually on the side of Al-Qaeda in Yemen. And I've been demonized, I've been called a crazy conspiracy theorist. How dare you make this outlandish claim, Luke, that the United States is fighting alongside Al-Qaeda in Yemen? Well, guess what? That dirty little secret just came out a few days ago from an official AP investigation that yes, the United States is allied with Al-Qaeda in Yemen right now. And it wasn't that difficult to call out. All you have to do is look at the battle plans, look at the alliances, look at the photos and videos coming out of Yemen, and you can clearly see, yeah, the United States is allied with Al-Qaeda, which I've been saying for years. And now I'm finally frickin' vindicated. And now this new Associated Press investigation revealed how the US, UK, and Saudi Arabian coalition made secret deals with Al-Qaeda fighters, paying some of them to leave key cities and towns, letting others retreat with weapons, equipment, and wads of looted cash, while also at the same time recruiting Al-Qaeda militants to fight alongside of them. And it's Al-Qaeda militants who are even speaking out about it. And this is all happening with the complete knowledge of the US military as they are helping Saudi Arabia refuel, helping them with intelligence, helping them with bombing targets, and US soldiers on the ground right now fighting alongside of them. One of the investigators said the coalition's war on Al-Qaeda largely is a farce. All of this while in the United States we're hearing headlines that Saudi Arabia and the United States have made massive headway against Al-Qaeda in Yemen, when in reality what the coalition is doing is paying them, arming them, letting them leave, and then walking in that town declaring victory. Of course, all without firing a shot, and Al-Qaeda becoming more mobilized throughout the entire world. And of course, to explain this geopolitically, this is mainly happening because Saudi Arabia is pissed off at Houthi rebels who are inside of Yemen who are backed by Iran. There is a proxy war between Saudi Arabia and Iran inside of Yemen, and Saudi Arabia has because they're spreading Wahhabist philosophies all over the entire world, has taken the side of Al-Qaeda. And guess what? In their fervor against Iran, the United States has officially sided with Saudi Arabia. You know, just the #1 chief exporter of Wahhabism all over the entire world that's spreading radical Islamic terrorism in the Western world that is responsible for the majority of the terrorist attacks that happen in the West. That's what the U.S. military is doing, and the expansion of that, that's not a good idea. Not even just because of that fact, but because of the human suffering and casualties that people are going through inside of Yemen, creating the worst humanitarian crisis in the entire world right now. With millions of people facing starvation and disease on the brink of death. And when the U.S. military-industrial complex wanted a war with Syria, we of course saw all the photos, all the videos of all these suffering poor children, but yet not one image of exactly what's happening in Yemen right now. And that should show you the extent of control that the U.S. military-industrial complex has on the news right now. The same news trying to punish me and others and deplatform us from even having a voice online. And the situation only gets more graver as you look into the details of what's happening in Yemen. With just moments ago, dozens of children being slaughtered and injured after U.S. Saudi Arabian coalition airstrikes on a bus in Yemen, many of whom were children underneath the age of 10 who were leaving a Houthi rebel stronghold that were bombed by the Saudi-led coalition that the United States is playing a very active role in. Now, obviously, this is RT, a news organization with their own bias, but there's no denying these reports when you have the actual photos and videos that we will not show you in this broadcast that show you exactly what happened. And now let's compare that news report to CNN's on this exact event, with a general title, with, of course, no responsibility by the U.S. Saudi Arabian coalition that was responsible for this. And the main reason why all of this is happening is because of the vehement hate and pushed by the neoconservatives in the United States to be in a war with Iran. This is why Donald Trump is still involved with Saudi Arabia in Yemen. This is why he cut out of the Iran nuclear deal, is imposing very severe sanctions on Iran, which China is responding with saying, we don't care, we're still going to do business with Iran, since Iran and China have had major economic alliances between each other. And this is just one of many geopolitical strangleholds that sees the United States and China bunting heads against. And with China upgrading their military capabilities, even having the capabilities to destroy every satellite in space right now, this is the main reason why the US military-industrial complex is doubling down and creating a sixth branch of the armed forces that of course are being dubbed the Space Force. With other economic challenges in the forefront between the United States and China, you could bet your bottom dollar that this Space Force is a direct response to China. And now this is the whole complicated cycle that keeps revving up this whole course of perpetual war that the United States has been on for a very long time, that sadly looks like it will never be over, but only expanding with a Space Force. And that's why, in my opinion, this is all just really dumb. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comments section why. I, of course, answer all comments in the first hour that this video is out. I want to thank everyone who allows us to have a voice through your donations, through your participation, through you guys sharing the videos. Even though we're being blocked and censored more than ever before, it's really you guys that allow me to have this voice. And that's why, for real, I love you guys. Thank you again so much for watching. Stay tuned for a lot more.